People thought it will not work because iOS is already there, but then Android made it big. Why? Because Android was open source. What do you mean by open source? The code of Android, the core code of Android was available to people through some license, of course, but it was available to people. iOS was not. So people trusted it more, the companies trusted it more, they built their own Android customizations over it and launched their mobiles. So Android market, because Apple was only, there was only one company just selling iOS mobiles, pure Apple. Android was adopted by so many companies because it was open source. They could use that code, they could make changes, they could customize it and give it to their mobile users. They can have more control, they can have their own customizations into it. So Android gained or much faster than iOS, and of course because so many companies were it, there were low-level mobile phones also, high-level mobile phones also, mid-level mobile phones also. So the coverage of industry was much larger. So this is how Android evolved, and that is why it has 75% share in smartphone market, and that is why it's the demand for it is huge. And Android also went through the same way as iOS. It also opened its SDK to the third-party developers, so that they can build apps on Android, submit it, and people can use it. Okay. So you can imagine that this Google Nexus 4 is an Android device. It is 4 times more powerful than the PC that I used in my college days. That PC was 256 MB RAM, one single core with 1.8 GHz speed. This one has 2.2 GHz, quad core, 4 CPUs and 2 GB RAM. So in terms of processing power, it is much capable than my PC that I used there. And because of that, I can do much more things on mobile, and because of that, there are so many features that it can support. You can navigate through map through this. You can build apps to check how many distance you have covered in your morning run. You can create apps to take photos, to create videos. You can create apps to download data from internet. You can do almost everything with mobile. You can create apps to just control mobile phone game by just tilting it because of its accelerometer hardware. There are so many things that you can do with Android, and that is why there are so many kind of apps in Android. So phone has so many features, and it has its own calling and features also. Calling, SMS are already there. So that is why it has become asset to users, and that is why right now the persons who are browsing through mobile are much larger than person who are browsing through PCs. So this is the importance of this, I would say, this course, that you are gaining experience or getting into Android at such a, just in your college, whereas professionals go and learn after their college. So that will give you an edge, I would say. So mobile programming versus desktop programming. Before getting into Android, I will tell you the basic differences between mobile programming and desktop programming. Now in desktop programming, you don't have to worry about memory, you don't have to worry about space. Space means which UI would be there. You can hard code it if yours is a small application or something like that. You don't have to worry about processing power because your CPU, most of the CPUs now are for quad core CPUs and they have so much processing power. You don't have to worry about power because the person who is using it, he always have power supply to your PCs. You don't have to worry about power. But in mobiles, all those are constraints. Screen is a constraint. You have a small screen, right? Processing power is a constraint. You can't run GPU in mobile. If you run, then mobile will get heat up, right? Then there is memory constraint. Mobile has support so many of applications, so you can't get. So you will be surprised to know that in this mobile phone, 16 GB is the recommended limit by the Android platform for an application to run. 16 MB, sorry, 16 MB. That's quite a low memory. You have to work to remain within that limit. 16 MB is nothing in a desktop environment. For simple application, go over 100 MB just by double clicking it. So this is the constraint over here. So first constraint is the screen. So unlike desktop applications, now desktop application you have a big screen, you have this application, okay, right? Now you just click on something and the view changes. You just click on something, the view changes. You can hard code that this button will remain there, this button will remain here, right? Most of the time you hard code it, and this button will remain here, and this is my view, right? But in mobile app this will not work, because first of all there are different sizes, particularly in Android. In iOS there are only 4 screen sizes. Only 4 screen sizes you have to worry about. Different screen sizes. Previous version and iOS phone, new version iOS phone, previous version iOS tablet, new version iOS tablet, iPad. But in Android, because there are so many companies doing it and they all have different screens, so different sizes. There are low, there are medium, then there are large. These in terms of sizes. Then density also. How many pixels per inch are there? Some are large density, high density, some are low density, some are medium density. So density means there is, if it's a high density, then it is more clearer to you. Okay, so you have to take care of this. Then you can orientation. Now when you're working on a screen, you will not tilt a screen, right? But when you're working on a mobile, you can tilt a mobile. UI will change, right? Orientation will change. You can't hard code. Your button which is in the left side of that code, when you will orient, suppose you have hard coded it in this screen, suppose this is a mobile screen and you have hard coded that button will remain here. When you will tilt it, which and your intention that it will remain on the left side, it will become here, right? So you have to take care of this stuff also. Then screen based navigation. Navigation means you have a screen, you can only show some amount of UI into it, but if you want to do something else, you have to move that screen and bring some other screen over it. What do you mean by it? Suppose I am creating a city search app, or I would say well-known places in a city. Okay, now I am creating that app. First I will have to show my cities, right? And then I will have to show the well-known places in it, right? 2 different screens, right? 2 different data sets in each screen. So these are 2 screens. So my first screen will show it, and when I click on it, this screen will get in stack, and this screen will be shown. When I press back, this screen will get killed, and this will again be shown, right? So there is a screen-based navigation. Every screen that you make is stored in stack when another screen appears, right? So this is one of those things. And in Android, a screen is an activity. So I would say multiple activities. An Android app consists of multiple activities, or a single activity if you only have one screen. Okay. So this is all about screen. Then I talked about memory, right? 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 Okay. So I'll give you an example why memory is important. Now we in AppRec created an app called Bagout. Now Bagout is nothing but it just shows photos of a product and the related data to it in a scroll view. You scroll it and they get appearing again and again. So basically it can have 3000, 4000 products in one scroll view. Now suppose, when we first coded, we let the images remain in memory. By the time we reached 20th, the application crashed. Because of what? Memory limitation. It increased the memory. It reached the maximum limit. Right? In desktop, the same would have worked till 1000 if I had made a desktop application. Because their screen limit is more, you can be more relaxed in desktop, but in mobile no. So what we have to do, when an image moved out of in scroll view is nothing but you just scroll and each and every element comes in. An element consists of an image and a data. So when an element moves out of view, we destroyed it and allocated that memory to the new one. So we reuse the memory. So this is one example of how you do memory optimizations, and you have to do it because your mobile application may run on one. It used to work till 50 scrolls in my mobile, but I went to a Spice 2.3 platform, it crashed in fifth, right? So different devices have different limits. It has 2 GB RAM, it had only 256 MB RAM. So memory is the issue. Then of course processing power. Processing power, you can't do high level work in a mobile app which takes about, if it is more than 4 or 5 seconds, Android will kill your app. Android operating system will kill your app. It will say your app is not responding, it will show the user your app is not responding, kill it. So you will have to do all those high intensive tasks in background, or you have to not do it completely. For example, in the Revel app that we made in Adobe, it used to edit the image. So all that processing of editing the image, like suppose you have to create it in black and white, you used to do in background thread and UI thread was same. If UI thread is blocked, the Android will kill your app, because it has to support so many things. It will kill your app. If it is low in memory, it will kill those apps which are using high memory. So you have to take care of, if you want to make an application for the sake of application, that is fine. But if you want to make a good quality usable application for your user, which he can use in each and every device, you have to take care of all these things. Otherwise, no one will use your app. If only one segment of users will rate your app that your app is not good, people will not use it. If there is any competitive app for it, so you have to take care of these things. Okay. Then events. Now in desktop app, what do you listen for if you have events? There is click, double click, right click, scroll, drag, right? In mobile apps, we have touch events. In all mobiles, we have touch events. Touch, okay, which is called tap. Okay, scroll is also there. Pinch, pinch out, pinch in, zoom out. Swipe, okay, 2 touch, 4 touch, multi gesture events. So those kind of events. So you have to listen for those events in mobile apps. While mobile app programming, you have to think different from, there is no right click in mobile apps. Okay, so all events are touch, tap, swipe, pinch, multi gesture. In fact, you can create your own gesture in your mobile app. You can create a gesture called circle, custom gestures. Suppose the mobile app on circling does something, so you can say circle and you implement it, and it will give you an event for it. So that is, so you can create your own gestures also, your own touch events also. Okay. Then yes, and the most important part, which is very well valid for Android, not for iOS particularly, but for Android, are platform versions. Now on Android started with 2.2. Okay. Now the current version is 4.4.2. It was called Frio. It is called KitKat. You know what KitKat? Okay. In between, there were so many versions. Okay. Now suppose the person who has released a mobile in 2.3, person has bought a mobile which was on 2.3. Okay. So until unless the vendor allows the upgrade for that device, it will never reach to 4.4.2. And why will not allow upgrade? Because 4.4.2 may require much more processing power, which the device may not have, or they don't have time to customize it. So as I said, they open source user, what they did was they customized their Android app and then pushed it, right? They didn't have time to customize it. They were more focused for the new releases. So it is high. There are high chances there are large customer base or large user base which are still on 2.3, which are still using those version which is 2.3. In fact, if you can see in a pie chart, only these many users are on the newest one. All other are on the previous one. Why I am telling you that? I am telling you that because unlike desktop systems, unlike Windows operating system, suppose desktop operating systems, mobile operating systems update a lot. It takes 2 or 3 years for a Windows operating system to update, right? New version to come up after so much amount of testing, and they have so much time into that they support their previous APIs. They take care that all the applications which are running previously will also run in this system. But mobile platforms are not like that. They are so fast in evolving that newer versions, there are high chances that the previous APIs will not be there, or there are new APIs which will not work in previous versions. So if you want to make an app so that all these users can use it, because you have this current version, either you go for 2.3 development, right? If you develop 2.3, it will work on 4.4.2 unless there is a major deprecation of an API, it will crash on 4.4.2. But you will lose the new features which has come in the higher versions, right? Suppose higher versions, suppose in this version a new map feature which is used, or say augmented reality feature came in, you will not be able to use the new functionalities. So what's the point out of it? Why do we do that? So we have to take care of that the code that you are using, it will you need to make sure your min version that you want to support and max version you want to support. Min is more important. So when developing mobile app, there is a specific field in the manifest file of app which is the minimum version do you want to support. If user tries to install it in a version previous to that, it will not install. But then if you set it suppose 4.0, all those users which are using the previous ones will not be able to use your app, and you will lose a major chunk of users, which is not the case. Which the industry wants. Industry wants to cater out to all these users. So Android, there is a special form of coding using support library. You have to code in a special way. This support library will allow these previous versions to use the app without any problem, but you have to code better. You have to take extra pains in coding because it's separate for normal way of coding. So you have to take care of platform versions. And last thing is testing. Now testing is one of the main or major part of mobile app platform. When you create an app, you will have to test it, or you will have to at least test it on different mobile platforms on different phone devices. Otherwise you will never know what kind of problems you will face into. Even me, who has developed about 10 or 11 Android apps, if I create an app and I just say okay, it's running my phone, I can publish it, I will face problems. I will get negative reviews because it will crash in certain other applications which I will not know the reason of. Either an API is missing, or I cannot API insert that, or the screen size is low, or the UI is getting blurred, or something like that. So those kind of things you have to take care of when you are testing. You can use either emulators or you can use devices. Emulators are also a choice to use. You can set an emulator to a certain SDK and test it. Emulator is nothing but a snapshot of mobile on your system. It will not give you features like call or SMS, or for that matter the GPS, because it does not have that hardware. But it will emulate all of the things like UI, like network connections and all those things. But for the performance, you will always have to go to the device, that your app is not lagging in performance, something like that. So device testing is must. So these are certain points in mobile app programming, not specifically for Android but for all, iOS or something like that, Android, even Windows phone development. You have to take care of all these things because these are common. These are hardware limitations, because of it these requirements are coming up, and the platform limitations. But more on Android. Why? Because it caters to a large number of devices, to large number of platforms, and there are so many different capability of devices in this case. So this matters more in Android, and that is why Android has specific provisions for all these things. It has solutions for all these things, and that is why even if a new Android device comes in, your application will just run fine if you code according to it. Okay. Any questions till now? No questions? So I would like to have an interactive session, as I mentioned, that I would like to have interactive session. People who are hesitant to ask questions will lose more, I would say. I was also once a student. I went into IIT. I was hesitant to ask questions. Why? There were so many students which are toppers and all, which are sitting beside me. If they were not asking questions, why should I ask questions? I will look like a fool, right? बट मैं बाहर आया जब क्लासरूम से, जब पूछता था लोगों से, तो पता चलता था कि मैं उतना बड़ा बेवकूफ़ नहीं जितना मैं समझता था अपने आप को. बाकी लोग भी उतने ही बेवकूफ़ थे. So don't be a fool and ask questions if you have any doubts. Always. Okay? Any questions? No? सब समझ में आ रहा है? I doubt it, लेकिन ठीक है, पहली क्लास है. Okay. So before getting started, so let's get started. Today you don't have systems or mobiles, or I cannot connect my laptop to it, so I will just give you how to get started and what all things that you would need, and then give you a small example of Hello World if possible, and then give you an overview what I'm trying to, what all my course will contain and all things would be there. So developer. This is the bread and butter of an Android developer. You won't need any book, you won't need anything, because a book may never get outdated. Your documentation will tutorials, it has ready-made everything, you would say. So developer.android.com is where I would say you can get your documentation from, and you can learn from Android. For rest, for getting started, for getting you reach there better, I am there. But this is where you should look at. So it has design, develop, distribute, 3 tabs. Design. So all those things that I told you, screen, how to create UI for a screen, what all things, principles, what all best practices to follow, design principles and all, they are here. You can just read it, just skim through it. Do not go into something, just skim through it. You will get to know what all UI components are there, although we'll go through it at a later stage, but just to, if you want, you can just skim through it. You will get to know what all UI components are there, what all best practices do we follow, what all things that we do. Mostly this tab is for the UI designers. The wireframes means what kind of, how the screen will look like, what color would be there, what icon would be there. So Android, the application development of an Android app is a mixture of different expertises. First is design, UI design, because you have a feature to support and because you have limited screen space, you have to design your UI better, because it's not a click, it's not a simple, it's not like small mouse pointer, you have to touch it through your finger, right? It has a certain space that will take, right? So your button should be at least this much amount of space, your button should not be smaller than that, these kind of things. And if you mix so much things in a small screen, user will not use it. You will say what kind of UI is it, I will not use it, it's very cumbersome. You have to make it simpler for the user. If things are not coming in one screen, put them in different screens or put them intelligently in menus or something like that. Those kind of things. You have to design your UI better. And for that, you need a UI designer. Either you have that capability